You're listening to the Scottish Football Forums podcast, the home of Scottish football banter.
Hello and welcome to Season 15, Episode 25 of the Scottish Football Forums podcast. This is a very different one because this is a very special recording, as you'll probably be able to tell. So my name is Graeme, I am your host. I am joined by a stellar cast tonight because we are here to talk about Scotland. 28 years of pain and misery is over, as last night we finally qualified for our first World Cup since 1998, and here to talk all about it. I'm kind of feel a bit gutted because I'm the only one on this pod that wasn't at the game last night, so these guys have all got a bit ahead of me here. So firstly, it's our normal host tonight, but he's relinquished hosting duties to me. It is JB. JB, what's happening, my man?
I mean, I can barely speak, so it's probably lucky you're fucking hosting, isn't it?
Also joined by Mr. John Bleasdale. John, how are you, mate?
Yeah, very good. After what was an incredible night last night, but we'll get into that soon.
We certainly will. Also tonight, as I said, we're joined by a very good cast tonight. We are joined by Laurie Finlayson. Laurie, how are you, mate?
Yeah, absolutely buzzing. I mean, this is just, I still can't wait to put it into words almost 24 hours on, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that one.
Absolutely, mate. And we are also joined by Daris. Daris, how are you, mate?
I'm doing very well. Still lost for words after the game last night. Tierney and McLean from the halfway line tune still stuck in my head. Yeah, all good, my man.
And last but not least, Krys. Krys, how are you, mate?
I'm good. This is the definition of glory hunting, this, isn't it? My second appearance in the podcast, and we're celebrating this.
I mean, if you're going to come back on a podcast, may as well be one like this, shouldn't it? As I said, Scotland 4, Denmark 2 last night. I mean, what an occasion. We'll talk about the game, but I want to get each of your thoughts on your experience last night, your emotions and feelings after that last night, because obviously I was watching it in the house with my son, who's 13. Him and I were both ecstatic, but you guys were all in that stadium last night. I'll come to the guy that can barely talk first. JB, what was your experience and your feelings and emotions during and after that game last night?
Fuck me, right. Where do we start? Right, well, before the game, went to my usual pre-match, the Montford, which was absolutely jumping the tunes, like the tunes where I was like, here we go. I was already believing anyway after Sunday's podcast. But you're in there, proper good tunes. You were like, come on, folk were singing, Danish fans were in, it was good banter, the beer was flowing. I'm still feeling good. I'm like, right, come on. You see people in the pub and they're like nervous, the usual nervous ones, the excited ones, the ones that have smoked 20 fags. I sound like I smoked 20 fags. Just tremendous. So that, and then it was like, so yesterday, the missus goes with me now, and her brother-in-law messaged me yesterday morning, and he goes, and he stays down south, by the way, what pub are you going to before the game? Thinking, well, what does that matter? Because you're not coming up. And he goes, I booked a last minute flight, I'm coming up. I was like, cool, so he was meeting us. And then it turned out, lo and behold, he wasn't bringing the person that usually comes with him. And I knew Krys was looking for a ticket. So I was like, right, first person I thought of, day one, season one, Krys podcast, football plus a all in one, because he's going to do all the background stuff even more in the podcast. So I was like, hey, Krys, ticket, try to phone him at his work. But I knew he could maybe be on a call. And couldn't get him. So I texted him and said, by the way, you got your ticket. So Krys, you can take that part in terms of getting that message, how you felt.
Oh, you know what? Like I'm like you. I mean, after the podcast, and I obviously wasn't on it the weekend, but I listened, and there was all that talk about there's just something about this campaign feeling special. And the closer we got to the game on Tuesday there, the more I was like, I wish I was going to the game. I really wish I was going to be there. We're going to do something special. I'm going to miss it, and I'm going to be gutted. So I wasn't really thinking anybody was going to have a spare ticket, because everybody was going to be up for this game. But when you got that message, I threw that was about 3:30. So that's what 4 hours before kick-off, just about.
I mean,
So
I
I
should
was
say,
absolutely delighted with that. It's one of my favourite messages I've ever had, I think. So
what better-
I will be eternally grateful for you sorting that out.
I mean, I couldn't have let you know earlier, but I was busy working in terms of I was finishing early. They'd sent the messages at 9 o'clock, so I never seen them till probably actually when I text you. Because I was actually working hard because I didn't get paid to Hampden.
Do you know, it's
But
probably a good thing we all did all that work yesterday, because I don't think anybody done any work today.
I did fucking
Everybody's
loads.
been watching videos and all sorts today. It's like there's no work get done today in Scotland.
I was in the office, walked in with my Scotland top, and everyone was loving me.
Oh,
Wanted to know. I felt like the celebrity that had been in the game. But now walking up to Hampden as well, and you're like, I think we actually went up a wee bit later than what we intended, but actually, I think it's because the atmosphere in the pub was so good. And I thought sometimes the tunes could be a bit indifferent. And all I wanted to be was to be there for just before the teams came out to kind of almost be still in that buzz. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can go too early and you kind of go, right, come on, like, let's get going. And I was buzzing anyway, so I didn't need any more buzzing. I mean, the major thing I think is how the fuck did we score 4 goals? That we must be the worst team ever in a game to score 4 goals. We had 5 shots on target, 4 of them were in. How? I mean, it symbolises this campaign perfectly because we've played better, weirdly, because everyone was like, oh, it's been grim. Even after 10 points after 4 games. The game on Saturday, we had really good chances. We had better chances against Greece and lost than we did last night, and we won. But you just felt everyone was buzzing. Like, see, once we knew after Saturday we win and we're going to the World Cup, didn't matter. Wins better. I hate this job, like play for a draw. So you knew. So I think the crowd at first were up for it. We get the early goal, and you're thinking, what the else going on here? Then they score, and you're like, here we go again. Then we score, then they score, and you're thinking, even down to 10 men, they're a better team. And you're getting to what, 89th minute, the board goes up 6 minutes, you're going, even fucking go. We've got 6 minutes. So as Steve Clarke was raging, there was only 6 minutes. But then by the end of it, it was like, fucking, come on, whistle. To score 2 goals in stoppage time, but not just 2 goals in stoppage time, 2 of the best goals that we will ever get to see at Hampden, but in a game that matters. Because if we'd drawn last night, right, folk would still be talking about these goals, but it wouldn't matter as much. They'd just be goals. Like, John and me can say about, and I know we're not talking about club, I'm talking about Hampden here. We were both, I think, at Aberdeen Hibs. The semi-final years ago, Rory Fatman scores the best goal I've seen at Hampden, but we lost. So it's like, it's a great goal, but we lost. Last night, we won, and we're going to World Cup. Like, a generation has not seen it. Daris hasn't seen it. Laurie's not seen it. My boy's not seen it. Your boy's not seen it. Krys and John's kids haven't seen it. The whole country, apart from the ones that don't support Scotland, the weirdos, are like, it's brilliant. You're walking to work this morning, you were like, okay, you know that way. I felt like one of the players myself. I was like, hey, Scotland are going to World Cup. Like, how do you bottle that? Bottle it. Actually, bottle it. Someone bottle it, please. Give me my voice back and make sure my voice. And can we just replay that day every day till the end of time until we win the World Cup?
Well, I'm glad Scotland didn't bottle it last night, is all I can say.
It's funny you mentioned these goals, because I was saying to somebody else just like in the last 24 hours, this beats anything I've had as a Scotland fan. Like up until now, my favourite moments have been like Sean Maloney's goal against Ireland at Celtic Park. That short corner move was like one of my favourite moments ever. Until, and I know this is funny, the timing of this. When I checked into football, that Footballogy app, a few of us use, which is really good for tracking where you've been in over the years. And when I checked in there last night, it flagged up that it was exactly 1 year ago that I was in Poland for the game there. So that was the thing that overtook Maloney's goal, was that last minute winner for Andy Robertson. But ultimately, that went on to mean nothing because all it got us was a playoff, and then we lost the playoff in Greece. Everything last night means something. Nothing that'll never be taken away from us now. We have qualified for World Cup with those goals last night in that game. That is one of the best moments, and I've had either sitting watching the games at home or actually it's definitely the best moment at any game. I can't even think of a better moment at a game other than last night.
Yeah, I mean, John Blaisdell, you'll have been to many, many a game at Hampden with Scotland, but how were you feeling going to that game last night? I think you were with your family last night. What was your feelings before and during and after that game? Because I think everyone's got the same feeling. I think for me, watching that game with Laddie last night, it was the anticipation before the game. I was working all day, but the anticipation before the game, the nerves, the excitement, and I think Scotland put us through the ringer last night. But what was your feelings about last night?
Well, from Saturday when the game's finished, I was at the Drygate event for watching Scotland-Greece game, and when we heard that obviously Belarus got that draw, I couldn't decide if I thought the stars were aligning for us, that some in a weird way that we were going to qualify, or if it was set up for another chapter of the word, the the phrase that we hate, glorious failure. So that was on my mind. I was nervous all day. Yesterday, like I woke up, I went to work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and then my stomach was nuts, and it was the same the whole day. So getting to the grounds, my mum, my sister, and my nephew all joined us. And I don't think my nerves get any better. It was when McTominay scored. I mean, it was just amazing. I must say, I thought some of the pre-match music was really good. You know, they had the Nick Morgan song and they had the Caledonia, etc. So I thought the Eastons played a good one there. I didn't like the version of Freed from Desire that they played beforehand, but hey, it's a personal opinion. But then when Scott McTominay scored, it's just an unbelievable overkicking. It's like best goal you've seen at Hampden. I know we'll have that conversation later. But the second half is just all sorts of emotions. There's the disappointment, the penalty. We're getting frustrated that that the performance wasn't matching. That we, when Denmark goes to the 10 minutes, you've got an opportunity, and we're still finding it difficult to get hold of the ball. And then obviously Shankland gets that goal. That's the one goal that I managed to catch on camera, and it was the worst goal of the four. Just died, and it looked as though it went straight in for the corner. But then when they equalised, I put my head in my hands, and I was, I just thought that was going to be it. But then when my family all left not long after 80 minutes, because that's what they do to beat traffic, I always stay at the full time when I can, and when Kieran Tierney hits that shot, I must have jumped down about 10 flights of stairs in celebration. It was just unbelievable. And then obviously the Kenny McLean goal, and you're just like, wow. I mean, you probably saw the video that I uploaded to various socials. I just went off my nut, and that was me without a drink on my head. But yeah, it was just like Krys, I've obviously seen Scotland's qualify for tournaments on the TV and stuff, but I've never witnessed it in person. With most of the times we've done it, other teams have done it for us, or when we qualify for France '98, it was we were still waiting on the Spain Faroe Islands later on, but this one we did ourselves, and to witness that at first hand last night, and to have that in my club team winning the Scottish Cup earlier in the year, 2025 has been kind to me in a weird way, despite some of the crap that's been going on either side of it.
Yeah,
question, Graeme. Can I ask a question, right? Because you said about the McTominay goal, right? So I've got a pretty good seat at Hampden, right? I would say in the North Stand. Now I knew we'd scored, but I didn't know it was an overhead kick until half time because there were so many bodies in the box. I couldn't see it, and I'm in D2 at a pretty decent bit, but could not see that it was an overhead kick. Could you, from your bit, John, where you were, because you're in the northeast, could you see?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
I don't know.
we could all see it was an overhead kick.
Aye.
Think you need to go to Specsavers, mate.
No, I couldn't even tell who had scored
Only
because
kidding.
from my angle there was that many bodies in the box.
Yeah.
What?
So whatever angle I was at, I don't know what you, Laurie, did you? You got fucking great seat.
Yeah. What I would say is I saw it, I was well aware that it was an overhead kick. However, one thing I did notice, I don't know whether this was down to the Eastons, who you've already mentioned, John, or whether it was down to Stevie Hubble or Team Scoreboard, the guy who operates the big screens. They put up Scott McKenna's naming graphic by mistake rather than Scott McTominay, but he did play the McTominay music when he scored. But I did see it was an overhead kick.
If we never seen it scored, and it wasn't as if because I'm just a midget, I could see the box, or whether maybe the cross is whipped in that quickly. You're not expecting it, so obviously Doak hits that cross, but he whips it in at pace. But there was a wee build up as well because Doak lost it. Then they kind of get recycled possession, and then whoever cut it back to Doak was it? I don't know, can't remember anyway. It doesn't mean a lot just now. Maybe Nicky.
He
Then goes back to
intercepted the
Doak,
clearance.
and then Doak obviously fucking whips it in, and you're like, and it was just scenes. You know what I mean? You're like, how could we start like that? This is not a Scotland script, is it?
But it goes back to the point I was making earlier about that it felt like we were going to do something special, and within 3 minutes we've scored an overhead kick. And I said to you guys at half time, if that's the goal that takes us to the World Cup, that's as special as you can get, not knowing what was going to come next. So we made it more special in the end of.
We did.
I think with the Tierney goal as well. I mean, it left his boot, and I thought, I think this is going to go in for a split moment before it went in there, and then it did, and that is it. It is just crazy. I think got my leg stuck in one of the chairs, but luckily got it back out from celebrations, and then Kenny McLean from the halfway line. I mean, who would have thought that? You know, an overhead kick.
I
Like a
mean, I listened to
45 yard.
I was listening to Off the Ball on the way home after the game, and they were talking about just how things aligned the way they did.
Yeah.
Because Kieran Tierney's only in that position because he's playing right back, but he's a left footer. It has to be a left footer that hit that shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hankey's a left foot as well. I know Hankey's both footed, but aye, it did. I mean, because at the time you're thinking,
Yeah.
what's he doing? Like when Tierney comes on, you're thinking, is it a reshape? Is Tierney going left wing? And then, oh no, he's going right back. And you're like, oh, okay. Like, because obviously Ralston's on the bench. But, I mean, Clarke's a genius, isn't he? Shows that Clarke doesn't know about football. Remember, Steve Clarke's terrible.
Valston does not score that goal. That's pretty
No,
clear.
definitely not.
It has
Definitely
to be
not.
Kieran
Absolutely.
But do you think that was, do you think Steve Clarke said, right, what to do is go on, son, and you score the winner? I mean, it wasn't the winner. It was, and it wasn't. You know what I mean?
Aye.
I mean,
It was the winner.
That's
technically
Denmark had
says
chances still. I was like,
Look,
as for the whole thing around winners, let's quickly settle a wee debate. We were having a debate at uni today, actually. Who really scored the winner? Was it Kieran Tierney or was it Kenny McLean?
Right.
I'm going to split.
So for me, Kieran Tierney's the one that scored the winner. Kenny McLean scored the full-time whistle because that referee wasn't blowing that whistle until something happened. He was had no time for Denmark to get equaliser, and Kenny McLean ruined it for him, so he just went, I've had enough.
see, the referee, right? I mean, I don't know if I was the only one doing this. I mean, I think I'm on my horse voice because no one was shouting around me. They were all too nervous. I replayed the Talbot Cumnock character. So when everyone's quiet in the ground, I take it upon myself to shout. That referee was getting dog serious with me, right? Obviously, he was bald. Now I'm bald, as you might see if we put this out visual. He was getting Thomas Gravison shouts at me all night because he was. I mean, see the fouls he blew for both teams. Yeah, I mean, he just had to like blow on someone, and it was a foul. I'll be honest, right, and I know other folk, Chris, you said it's a definite red card. I don't think that's a red card. For me, if that, I know he's on a yellow, but fuck, the game is gone if some of these bookings are cards. Like, I mean, if what's in our favour, I actually thought John McGinn was getting booked for backing in, and then he pulls out the yellow card. I was like, oh, McGinn's booked. And then the red comes out, I'm like, oh, here we go.
So
I mean,
having watched it back, I would tend to agree with you on this one, actually. It's one of the softer ones. But this was a tactic the Danes played throughout the game. See, every time we looked like we were going to get away or break up a park or something like that, whack, up in the air you went.
Yeah.
He didn't book enough of them for that, in my view. So for him to then book him for one of the softer fouls, I think that's kind of evened it out for me.
did anyone watch the? Well, Graeme would have definitely seen it if you're at home, I would hope. So the build up. So I watched the build up when I get back in, and then I thought I'll go and I'll watch McTominay's goal when I go to bed with a final to look forward to, no a semi. So Graeme, in the build up, did you pick up on the fact they were talking to I think Lovenkrands and Kelly Cates? Or was it Neil? No, Neil McCann says, "Oh, I'm surprised that Ericsson's not playing." Now Ericsson's not really playing that much now, club wise. And Lovenkrands goes, "Aye, it's all right though, because we've got the new phenomenon, Froholt. Froholt, he's the boy to get sent off." So I'm
Victor
glad
Froholt, yeah.
I'm glad they played the phenomenon and not the old phenomenon. Easy to say when you get your teeth in your voice.
I mean, Daris, as a mere youngster, Daris, you probably haven't seen Hampden like that before. What was your overall experience like last night?
Still lost for words. The build up going into it. I mean, when you see the flower of Scotland, was it when we played Italy in 2007, and it was like that was a loud Hampden when you see back in the videos of that. But last night, when it started flower of Scotland, it was just an absolute cauldron, and that's I think a key part of why we got the result that we needed last night. But I think when you've had like Flower of Scotland games against England in the past, I think the build up to this it was next level. Um, just before the game last night as well, just my emotions. I woke up and I was just like nervous, and I was just like still in this going into work, and I'm like it's still another 10, 11 hours to kick off, and then it started getting more and more excited. And then I met the Western Tartan Army guys at 5 o'clock when it finished, and then got the bus up at 6. And then I was like, yeah, here we go, I'm ready for this. And then not knowing that the way that we'd done it with an overhead kick, the Tierney to make it 3-2, and then Kenny McLean. You look at the goals. I mean, I think what's for the best goal out of the three. I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it? I think what's like the best out of the three. I think just for I know McTominay's is an absolute worldie to do that in the first 5 minutes, but I think Tierney. I just think just because you're going at it, you're 2-2, and then I mean there was times in the game as well that was like when they had the 10 men, we were just allowing them to go forward with the ball. I mean, there was times last night when Scotland attacked against Denmark, like when we were going for it, when they were on the front foot, Denmark looked panicking at the back. They didn't look. Um, they looked quite disjointed. I think they've got like a couple of the boys at the back. Victor Froholt as well. I mean, I think he will be a good player for Denmark, but I think he's only like 18 or something. But like guys that are looked worried. But I think out the winners, I think Tierney out the goals. Sorry, I think Tierney for me is the best. That's my opinion, guys. But it's
Do you think
absolute
Daris
compliment.
do you think Daris that's because of when it was as well? As a perler, like Denmark had been trying it all night because we were sitting in such a low block. But do you think because at that just before that we probably are thinking, fuck, we're in a playoff?
Yeah, when it got to 2-2, I'm like, I don't know if we've got enough to get up the winner, and then Tierney just hits it, and then as I said, when it left his boot, I'm like, this could go in by the way, and like for a split moment, and it did, and you just seen the ball absolute ripple through the net, and I've like been to many games for my club team Celtic and go to Scotland games, but the absolute limbs is just at its next level. There's nothing ever that will top that feeling.
I was
think
when
it
I was
might-
trying to rack my brain earlier today, to remember when I've seen another overhead kick. I can come up with one. It was John Hartson in a league game like about 20 years ago. So it's nothing as spectacular as an occasion as McTominay's. And then I start thinking, well, when have I seen MD score for the halfway? I don't think I have. I've
I've seen a goalie score.
I still haven't seen that. I must, but well, I have seen Craig Gordon put one
Well,
in his own net.
Twice.
I've seen
I've
Kloss
seen a
put one in
goalie
his own
score.
net.
when have you seen a goalkeeper score, John? Sorry to interrupt, but wow.
For Scotland. I mean, no, yeah, that's coming to the World Cup. Craig Gordon, age 94, scores a winner in the final. Talbot, I've seen Andy Leachman score not just once but twice, different games.
Wow.
So big shout out to Andy. See for the Tierney and McLean goal, Daris, as you said, about limbs. That's the closest I've ever been to. I might end up in the pitch here because I ran down the front. 10 rows, 10 rows is enough. So one of the stewards I high-fived. The other steward was like, no. I'm like, don't worry, I'm just... And I'm glad I never ended up in the pitch because you just see the boy that get rugby till you go to the end. Me?
I see it.
That was horrendous. Well, that boy, he was an older boy. He's
Aye.
obviously a few sheets to the wind. And he's not going very fast. He's not going to get away from the stewards. He's not going to get very far on the pitch. And they come hurtling towards him and whack him so hard, his phone jettisons out his hand and lands next to the advertising hoarding.
The last time you've seen a tackle as good as that was at Murrayfield on Sunday. By the way, there was no players on the pitch anymore. The stadium was about empty.
Yeah.
So he was just running on, I think, just to say that he'd been on the Hampden pitch. There was no threat to anybody. I didn't. There wasn't any threat anyway. If I'd gone on the pitch, the only thing I would have been done was kiss the first Scotland player like I'd have grabbed. John McGinn. Anyway, I'd kiss his arse. I'd have kissed his arse. I'd have kissed anywhere. I think we all would have. Would anyone else have kissed up there last night?
I
kissed a lot.
think there was a lot of kissing going on last night.
Oren Shankland getting that second goal that I thought was going to be the winner, but it wasn't. So,
Do you know, well, I kind of feel sorry for Shankland because everybody's saying he scored the shitest goal in the game. But actually, see the technique for all 4 goals. So obviously, to be able to even connect with an overhead kick that takes some phenomenal amount of skill. Never mind to make contact in such a way that he directs it down into the corner. Shankland's goal itself actually takes a lot because he's the only one that stays in the 6-yard box because everybody else comes out. And because I never celebrated it properly because at first I thought it had gone straight in and they were going to moan that somebody had impeded the goalkeeper. It's only when you see it back, you see actually, like I think, John, you were the one that said that they were claiming for offside for a corner.
Yeah.
No, that one not going VAR. Was it the second one?
VAR checked that one because I never celebrated it properly until I pointed to the centre circle.
And at that point they're going, oh, here we fucking go. We've
that was my concern. Aye. It was going to roll it for some crap. But the technique to stay in that box was really important.
It was going. I thought the goal was going to be ruled out completely. And I think when you watch it, I think Shankland thought it was getting ruled out as well. You know, just body language. I thought Shankland was convinced it was getting ruled out. I mean, at first when I was watching it live, I thought, what a crap corner! How did we get away with that? But then when you actually watch it back, you do see that it's pretty damn near, as you say, to going straight in.
Yeah, did you hear Shankland's interview? Did you hear Shankland's interview after the game and off the ball?
No,
so we were talking about the goals. He had I had Tierney's one in that, and Tierney wasn't caring. He was just like, I scored, and he's care if it was the best goal or the worst goal, whatever. He was like just happy to play and be involved. And they get Shankland on, and he's obviously passing no what about getting a beer or whatever. And whoever it is was asking the questions. They're like, so how did it feel scoring that goal? And he goes, well, I mean, I was quite glad, but I hardly even got a connection. It's probably the worst connection I've ever got with a football for scoring a goal. But see if you're going to do that. I mean, what a time to do it.
He got as much connection as was needed, let's face it.
Exactly.
But I say for me, the important bit is the fact that he stayed where he was, because actually, it was the only contact with the keeper was Schmeichel pushed him to try and get him out, and he stood firm. as the rest, I still don't understand why the defenders all come out and just leave him there, because he's basically completely unmarked, 6-yard box to his and just manages to get the slightest of touches to knock it into the net. So that the technique for that was terrific, and then obviously the technique. Tierney, I get why Daris thinks that's maybe the best goal, because the technique to get that to swerve into the corner past who is a teammate at Celtic, Kasper Schmeichel with Tierney, and then of course you might think the Kenny McLean one's a hit and hope, but even the technique of that to get it front, you need to get the distance right. You need to get it to drop at the right times, because it doesn't. If it drops too early, Schmeichel gets it. And you need to it's not even like centre of the goal, it's right over at the post. So even that is phenomenal.
I actually thought when Tierney was hitting it, sorry, not Tierney, McLean, I actually thought at first he was putting it in the channel just to get in the corner. And I went, oh fuck, he's waiting for it. Because he's in his own half. I mean, and you're like, that way it was like, and then it was like, do the front again. Here we go.
The best thing is, there's hundreds and thousands of footages of folk with their camera phones have all got that goal, because everybody was going, I'm going to get the full time. I'm going to get it. Oh, well, he's like that. Yeah.
Blanchardstown would have it the first minute for the goal. You only got one goal last night. That's disappointing for John, for you.
It's mainly set pieces I filmed. I was trying to get the fans behind me, so I was holding the phone above my shoulder and watching what was going on, like I did with the cup final, as you remember. And
it was brilliant.
Yeah.
And then got your phone after the limbs last night. You must have had a fucking good grip on it.
I'm very well controlled, John. I'm used to it. But anyway, in terms of the goals, just to go back to Daris's question, well, McTominay for me, that was the best in terms of technique, because he's like almost 8 feet in the air when he makes connection, and it's a perfect connection. First of all, the pass from Doak inside the chip in is perfect for him. It just sets up perfectly, and he gets the connection. It gets right in the corner. Schmeichel's even in peak form does not save that. So that's why that's the best goal, and it was good for obviously getting the crowd up at the first couple of minutes. Tierney's is the most important strike, because that is essentially the winner. I know we're getting our goal a couple of minutes later, but that is essentially the winner. And again, you're talking about the technique to curl that into place the way he did. And Kenny McLean's is the icing the cake. Just the skill to get that over the goalkeeper. And that's the second goal I've seen score from inside the Hampden half, from inside your own half. But I will fondly recall this a lot more than Patrick Schick's at the last Euros. So you can kind of get over that now.
Laurie, Jones last night, Laurie.
Finland last night, goodness. Just nerves which turned to elation, then crippling nerves again, and then to be honest, 2-2, you kind of think game's a bogey, typical Scotland, well, screwed it again, the kind of negative rhetoric, but then of course, as we're saying there about the two kind of last gasp goals, obviously that kind of turns to sheer elation again, and I'm not usually someone, as you'll know, that's lost for words. Always something to say about whatever, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. But last night I had no idea what had happened. It's pure shock. Even like after the game, as Hampden started to empty out, and some of us who are on this very podcast are in a rather empty National Stadium, we still don't think it's real. I mean, some of us were, myself included, literally pinching ourselves last night. And to be honest, here we are, the best part of 24 hours on as we record this, and some of us are still pinching ourselves. It has happened. It is real. As we said at the top of the show, no one's been very productive today, but who cares?
Excuse me, can I just say I did pinch you last night, because you did say, I don't know if this is real, so I did pinch you. And also your mum is lucky that I'm married, because she'd have been getting French kissed. You were always getting French kissed. But the photo at half time, when it's the podcast group, so Josh, Krys, Daris, myself, we went to go and see Laurie as we do at half time.
Yeah.
If we're there. We got a photo of like the podcast trip, so I got, I think, my missus or someone, the steward, to take it. So it's one of those motion pictures. So we're all lined up, ready for this photo. And then Laurie's mum just pops in her head.
Yeah.
And because it's a motion one, it looks so much better than it would even if like it was anything else. Because there's a picture of just the five of us. But then Laurie's mum just does a wee photo bomb.
And I was not expecting her to do that, by the way. I wasn't expecting it at all.
She timed it to perfection. She's a welcome to come on the podcast, anything she wants.
I will know.
The only like downside last night was the injury to Ben Doak, and I put this in the group chat. I'll come to yourself first, Krys. I put in the group chat that I thought, where's the out ball when he went off? For that first 20 minutes, he was outstanding. The ball in from McTominay's goal. One thing that Ben Doak gets criticised a little bit for is his final ball. It's a fantastic cross. I don't know if you saw it in the stadium, wide went down. Watching at home, I could see it was a hamstring injury. But how big a blow did that feel in the stadium when Ben Doak went down and got taken off?
It kind of sucked the air out of the atmosphere. Like you say, he was, for those 20 minutes, he was ripping them to shreds. Their left back could not cope with him at all. He was banging his pocket. And you could see just before, because he played the ball up the park. I know they got like a drop ball or something like that when Doak went down. But see, just before he played it, you could see he was struggling with something. I wasn't sure if it was his boot or something. But when he played it up the park and went down, I thought, oh no. And you could tell straight away it was a hamstring. It was a massive blow. Because I worried what was going to happen after that. And you kind of seen it for the rest of the first half as well. Like we sat back, didn't really have that out ball. And it was kind of frustrating because see when we did get up the park and started pressing them, especially over the other side of the pitch, over at their right back, they had their right back rattled.
See
time.
the Ben Doak, so it happened right in front of me. So see, because sometimes he plays that close to the defender to try and spin. It was like, remember, like Michael Moles at Rangers, and he used to always be back to goal because he was so quick at turning. So from what I saw, his Doak had his back to goal, and it must have been the right back or whoever. And he went to kind of turn, but because he kind of tries to turn so quick, the defender went at his back, his leg. So probably because of the speed that Doak's going at and the impact of the challenge, that's, I think, what caused it. And he obviously tried to continue and then realised, no, fucked. And you're worried at that point. No width. Christie's the only person that might offer you width, but we then became really, really far too narrow. Now, Doak's not going to track back, but as you say, Graeme, it gives you an out ball. So, say for example, it's Hickey or it's even Robertson, a switch of play or something, because you can just put a ball in an area and just let Doak run onto it. He can spin folk, he can come inside. So it definitely took the stuffing out of the game and the crowd because it's bad, right? But he has a great hope because we don't have any, especially with Gilmour's out. So Billy Gilmour's out. There's no creativity in that team. I don't think any of our midfield, apart from Doak and Gilmour, have got creativity. There's players that have got, what would you say? I mean, McTominay, I don't know, this sounds bad, but despite his goal, I didn't think he had a great game last night. I don't think many of them really had a great game. But the team resilience and character was what got us through because there were so many moments like Krys is saying, or Daris, or all of us, to have 30% possession at home against a Denmark team that I don't think is as good as the one we beat before, different circumstances because they'd already qualified. They're still a good team, but there was that kind of worry. We had that early 5 minutes where we did go at them, but then we did the whole sit. And maybe tactically, you're like, right, do you just sit and let them come at you? Because we've got the goal, so you hope then you can counter, but there's nowhere to counter because there's no pace. So you're just, the ball's just constantly just coming. And Denmark did have chances, maybe not great chances, but like I said earlier, because we were hitting in such a low block, the amount of times they were just setting up three people at the edge of the box. Now, in the ground, it looked like some chances weren't far off. Turns out they were a bit off, but still a bit like when Tierney scores, you just put in a crowded area, anything can happen.
I think sort of talking Chris's point there as well, like the first 20 minutes of the game, when before Doak went off, it was the boy. I'm sure it was their right back was the boy. I'm sure it got sent off, Christensen. The boy got sent off at the right back as well. But yeah, I think if it was like when you look at the Denmark team that we beat 2-0 a couple of years ago at Hampden, had the likes of your Christian Eriksen's and you know that I think that's Denmark team as well. They'll they've got a lot of young players as well. I think they've got the boy Dorgu. I think he's only like 20. You've got the boy Victor Froholt in midfield. He's only like 18. I think he's from Porto. Like so, they will become a good team. I think in the next couple of years. But they did look panicking at the back, as that's what Chris said as well. When Doak was, on the ball, just driving forward, they looked really uncomfortable. And then when Doak goes off, as I said, I think we just lost that kind of out ball. We kind of lost that kind of, how could you say it, that kind of drive. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe the last 20, 25 minutes of the first half, we're sitting back and we're like, And then they've got chances at the box. The boy, Isaksen as well. I thought he was very good. But probably one of their best players last night for Denmark as well. But Hoyland as well, and it's like they were unlucky not to score in the first half as well. For Denmark could have scored. Do you know what I mean? And it's like we got a bit of the rub of the green. I think I was saying that he's at half time last night, Laurie and JB and all. As I said, I think it's how can we say it? Yeah, we just lost that kind of drive, when Doak went off. But yeah,
John,
I
please.
don't think we looked too.
Sorry.
I don't think we looked too threatened in the first half. They obviously had that one that got flagged offside that Gordon had saved anyway. I didn't like the inconsistency with the linesman over one side was letting things go and then flagging later, whereas the one that was flagging off Dykes immediately was just annoying me because it's like, why you not letting it? But that shot and the goal that they had ruled out as well. But other than those two things, and the goal was ruled out rightly because it was a push.
Yeah.
But other than those two, they never really troubled us too much in the first half. They had a few shots that went into the stand, but there was never anything that looked worrying. They looked a bit more worrying in the second half. But even then, it took the penalty for them to get back into it. There was never anything where, like, it was not as if Craig Gordon was keeping us in the game or whatever like that, like he was like the Greece game. But so it just kind of, as much as they had that attacking threat, and for what I remember the stats, their XG was better than ours. I think in we were 40. It never really felt like they were that big a threat going forward.
XG is a pile of shit.
That definitely doesn't tell the story last night.
I was going to say, John Bleasdale, obviously, when we make the change with Doak going off, Kenny McLean comes on. Take aside the goal that McLean scores, because it's a great goal. I don't think Kenny McLean put a foot wrong yesterday, and he gets a lot of criticism. And actually, John McGinn mentioned this after the game yesterday when he was getting interviewed about the criticism McLean gets. I thought McLean was really good when he came on last night.
I thought he did well. I mean, who else were we going to bring on, though? Connor Barnes, who's had, one cap, and Andy Irving, again, has only had one cap against Liechtenstein and isn't getting games. So Kenny McLean was the obvious replacement. And, because I think Ryan Christie was doing well before he got shunted wide, and you have to put someone like Christie away because of his pace and his work rate. But no, I thought McLean did well. I mean, for me, I know I saw later on that Kieran Tierney get player of the match, which I'm assuming is because of the winning goal, because he was only in the park for 15 minutes. For me, the player of the match or man of the match, whatever you want to call it, for me, it was Lewis Ferguson. I thought Lewis Ferguson had his best game for Scotland last night. I thought he was superb in that midfield. He was winning every tackle. He was barely wasting ball. I remember misplacing one pass. For me, his best game for Scotland by a long shot. But as for Kenny McLean, I thought he did a solid rather than spectacular job.
And Kenny McLean, right? See the last campaign after McGregor retires. McLean gets trusted. McLean, I think, was one of the best players in our last campaign. But he's not fastable because he plays for Norwich. And I don't think many, and I don't know, but I don't watch much of Norwich because I watch the Championship. But I don't ever remember Kenny McLean having bad games. It's just because folk look at it and go, McTominay's at Napoli, Gilmour's at Napoli, McGinn's at Villa, etc., etc. Steve Clarke trusts him, right? And Steve Clarke, whether folk like it or not, he's got us to 3 tournaments and got us a semi-final World Cup. Yeah, we all get frustrated with style of play, but we don't have wingers and creative players. So how do you want us to play? We can't play attacking great football if we don't have the players.
The thing for me with Kenny McLean is he's never the first choice. So he's always coming in to replace somebody else. And he doesn't have the pace of Ben Doak. Like that was his replacement last night. So when Doak goes off and he comes on, you notice that he doesn't have the pace. It's the same when he was coming into the centre of midfield when he was coming in for he's not a Billy Gilmour, he's not a McTominay, he's not a McGinn. That doesn't mean he's a bad player. He's a solid player and he's been absolutely reliable, as you say, through the Steve Clarke era at Scotland. That he has come in, he has now scored 2 iconic goals that have been massive in getting us to these tournaments. Like, how does this compare to the one he got in Norway? I think the Norway one probably makes a bigger difference because it's a winning goal in a campaign where we had to get the win. Whereas getting the 4th goal,
I mean,
and when we win 4-2 instead of 3-2.
And he scores in both Chelseas, by the way, Kenny McLean.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that as well.
Yeah.
And aside from Gilmour and Doak, he's probably, aside from Gilmour, he's the best passer we've got on the team. Apart from Gilmour.
Yeah.
He always wants to try and play it forward. Rarely loses the ball.
Yeah. I would say going on to so I say when we go on to I think the changes as well, like last night as well, when we went for Shankland coming on and Dykes. Yeah, I think we've just made some. He got it right, and I think we go back to the Kenny McLean as well. I think he's just people don't because as he says he plays at Norwich, and you look at guys that have got like McTominays and your Gilmours and your Lewis Fergusons. Yeah, he's not going to be as maybe as good as them, but as you say, he's done a job. He's scored 2 iconic goals, I think, in like the campaigns. But yeah, I think I do feel a bit sorry for Kenny McLean. I really do, and I really hope now with that goal as well, people are going to, get back on side with him. Do you know what I mean?
Remember as well, we missed the Euros. The first time we got to Euros, he was injured. And all the players love him. You see all the players love him. Even before last night, he has a character. We've seen the Norwich Mad Dog and the Mayor's Hat. I mean, he's a hero in Norwich. But he's not a hero with Scotland fans, but he's a hero, I think, with the Scotland fans that go all the time and see what he produces, as opposed to just going, it's Kenny McLean. He's playing the Championship.
John, please tell you what come in.
Yeah, it's just when we're talking about players who are underappreciated, like Ken McLean is to some fans of Tartan Army. Well, one guy who definitely falls into that category is Grant Hanley. Now, he would have been dejected. Now, let's get this out of the way. He didn't have a good game on Saturday, and neither did John Souttar. It was a toss-up between which one of the two of them was getting dropped at the week for this game for Scott McKenna, who was excellent last night. Grant Hanley was the one that was dropped, and he would have probably been gutted. And then at the last minute, John Souttar is injured, and Grant Hanley is basically told, right, you need to start the game. Just go and prove me wrong for not starting you. I thought he had a very good game last night. It wasn't his best game, but it was certainly far from his worst. And I thought he was actually very good alongside McKenna most of the game. I thought McKenna was the standout of the two, but that just shows the character that we've got in this squad. No question about that they'll just run through a brick wall for this manager.
Laurie?
Yeah, kind of backing up John's point there, but just quickly on the Kenny McLean thing, Graeme, you can maybe confirm this. I'm sure in a little bit of the post-match interviews that I watched after I came back in last night, Kenny himself said that goal last night topped the goal in Norway to his mind. So make of that way well. And as for Grant Hanley, I'm one of these guys who is guilty of having a go at Grant Hanley. You know, we all know he's got mistakes in him, but he is just sort of typical, well, no nonsense centre back. If you're playing Football Manager, you know, he will just do your job and do it to the best of his ability most of the time. And to be fair, last night is not an easy gig for anyone, but coming into a game when your teammates has been injured, you know, at the last minute, that just adds to the pressure. And to be able to cope with that is no mean feat. And I'm not one who really wants to take players out, but something with Grant Hanley, I will admit to having a bit of a weak spot, but I cannot criticise him you know, last night at all.
See, on that, Laurie, I mean, I hope I don't get into trouble here, but there was a guy on this podcast tonight on Saturday who said, I never want to see Grant Hanley in a Scotland jersey again. I think his name was Graeme.
Yeah.
So, Graeme, can you eat your humble pie?
Aye, it was fucking shite. Nah, he did well, to be fair. He did give him his credit. He did well alongside McKenna. He was decent. I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong.
I know you do. I know you do. I know you do. I couldn't resist. Sorry.
Honest, because he plays for Hampden now, but fuck it. But that first half, you know, it went by quite quickly, 1-0 up, and you're hoping second half, right? Can we keep this going? We give away the penalty. Obviously, you guys maybe can't see this when you're at the game, but I watched it a few times. I thought it doesn't matter now, but I'm still not convinced that was a penalty. It looked outside the box to me. I mean, I don't know what you thought about that, Daris, when you saw it, because I still don't think that's a penalty.
Yeah, I don't think it's a penalty either. I think from when you see it, it just looks like it's outside the box. And it's like, and for how long it took as well, and this is where we'll go back to the injury time. There's no way it's only 6 minutes added time. I think alone in that penalty call was like 4 minutes, 5 minutes, and that's not including them rolling about the floor, time wasting with cramp, etc. X, Y, Z. I don't know where they're getting 6 minutes from, but it's, yeah, as I say, I don't think it's a penalty. I think it's just outside the box. But how long it took as well, it's absolutely crazy. I think, yeah, it's. But listen, it doesn't matter. We've got we're in the World Cup and they're in the playoffs, so it's karma for them wasting time at 2-2.
That was probably the funniest thing in the game for me. Was at 90 minutes I was screaming and shouting, 6 minutes, is that all? 3 or 4 minutes later I'm going, well, you're not too many.
That's right. I've got someone on the phone, and they're just wanting to. Aye, no, I can. Aye, what is it? He's in there. Right, okay, wait a minute. He's at the door. Okay, someone's at the door, so I just say, go and get him. Okay, someone's at the door.
Why have I got a horrible feeling about this? Laurie.
Yeah. Just, I think. No, I'm just. Oh,
That's all right. I'm delighted to get to the World Cup. I said last night I've got 3 months to be on the baby, and I've started, and I've got a wee something for you all to enjoy. So you can hear I'm like my friend JB. I'm a bit hoarse, but I've got the champagne. We're going to Mexico.
You know what? Actually, JB and Steve Clarke could be brothers.
oh. I mean, to be fair, just very quickly, Graeme.
Steve Clarke here. I just want to say, great to see you, boys. I've been on the baby since last night. I was at the Blue Lagoon with John McGinn, and I got a wee haggis supper, and I got a wee champagne. This is my third bottle in the last 24 hours, and we are having a party. We're going to Mexico. Mexico.
Did anybody else know the Blue Lagoon actually sells champagne? You know, I'm glad that John McGinn got some champagne at the Blue Lagoon, because obviously he wasn't able to join in the dressing room celebrations because he was away doing the random drug test. Have you not seen that photo? Sitting there with his the coat on, looking miserable.
Oh,
Are you want to come in?
superb.
I've kind of lost my train of thought. However, I will just say that JBE and Sir Steve could definitely could definitely pass as brothers. I mean, just a few weeks ago, before a Kilmarnock game, I was actually at a event where I was actually talking to Steve Clarke's brother, Paul. Actually, nice guy. And again, he is basically Steve's spitting image, minus the beard.
I'm just going to go back to Daris's point about the Danes time wasting, etc. And karma. Well, I mean, there was one instance when the boy goes down with cramp and the referee's coming to try and help him and stuff, and he got up very quick. Funny that. And then after we go and make it 3-2, Scott McTominay then decides, right, I'm going to play that game, and it was just brilliant shithousery by going down and pretending he had the cramp. I don't think he did have cramp. I think that was just a clear dig at what the Danes were doing. Say, have some of that.
I think last night, one of the very rare occasions that John McGinn's arse didn't actually work in his favour most of the time, apart from the sending off. But obviously they got the penalty, they score it, and I kind of had that feeling of, oh no, here we go again. But then, of course, the one thing that Steve Clarke gets criticised for quite a lot, I'll come to you on this one, Laurie, is the subs that he makes. But this time he made them very early, bringing on Che Adams and Lawrence Shankland. And you know what? It worked.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something, even as someone who is very pro Steve Clarke, maybe in part due to my club allegiance, that is one critique of Clarke I will always accept. He can be a little reactive with substitution from time to time, or even if he's not reactive, by nature he's very cautious, although last night, by Steve Clarke standards, that was throwing caution to the wind. Even though at least one of them was a like-for-like change, you never see Steve Clarke firing on two strikers. Like, that's unheard of. And I always seem to think, and I'm not just saying this because you're hosting tonight, Graeme, I always seem to think he's always a bit reluctant to bring Lawrence Shankland on. I'm actually just delighted he did it last night, and I'm sure you would agree. But it's just that's how I want Steve Clarke to be sometimes. It's the one minor frustration that I have had with him both at club level and international. Sometimes he can be that wee bit reactive. But last night he knew that he had to, by his standards, go against the grain a little bit, take a gamble, and that gamble paid off.
I'll be honest, I even watching it on TV, I didn't actually realise Shankland got a touch on that until I saw the replay again. Because even my laddie thought that went straight in, as did I. I mean, you kind of mentioned a minute ago, Chris, about the fact that he hasn't even scored the best goal of the night. But it was, or it felt like at that time, 78 minutes on the clock when he scored, it felt like that was going to be the most important one.
Yeah, it was. I think that my biggest concern, I mean, it was obviously disappointing to concede the penalty, but there was that much time left. And of course, when we had them going down to 10 men as well, it always felt like there's plenty of time in this game left to get the winner. When we got the winner through Shankland, as we thought at the time, to only then concede, like, was it 3-4 minutes later? Again, I think that was my lowest point in the night, was maybe this isn't happening for us, because we just can't get the ball at the net.
Yeah, I mean, John Bleasdale, it was 4 minutes after Shankland got that goal that Dorgu equalises. And defensively, we were a little bit suspect. It's a decent finish. And I know that it was put in the chat that Craig Gordon stood still, but I don't think he's getting to that anyway. Even if he dives for it, he's not getting it.
No, Craig Gordon can't properly see it because the defender's in front of him, and it's very well placed by Dorgu into the corner. First of all, Kieran Tierney is unlucky with his clearance. It hits a Denmark player and it rebounds perfectly to another Denmark player. And it's just John McGinn arguably could get out quicker. That's probably the only criticism, but it is a good finish. And as I mentioned earlier, at that point, my head went in my hands, and because I just thought that was the typical Scotland's glorious failure novel. And thankfully, we had another chapter to write.
Daris?
I'm going to talk about the Shankland sub as well. I think that is when Clarke brought him on last night as well. I think that was a very, very key sub. I think he played such a huge part. I think if Clarke doesn't bring him on, I don't know if you win that game. And I know it was Tierney that got the winner, and I know McLean got the fourth, but I think Shankland, if he doesn't make that sub and go with Adams and Shankland, then it could be different again. But we'll go back to the Dorgu one. I think it's a good finish. That is what you're saying, John. Bleasdale is. It's a good goal. I don't think there's, and then I just sat down in my seat at 2-2 and I was like, nah, you know what I mean? We just felt dejected, deflated, and you're just like, goodness, we've got the World Cup playoff draw, and we could get like it'd be a home draw against I think we could have got like Ireland or can't mind the other teams we could have got, but I think we would have been fought through. But yeah, yeah, it's just I'm still lost for words. I think I just still lost for words. You know, when you look back on Saturday's game as well, and it's like I compare it in the stars. I mean, Belarus getting a draw in Copenhagen as well. It's like I was over at Athens as well, and it was just like everybody's all like we're all dejected, deflated, and then Belarus scoring. It's just everybody's all going crazy. But yeah, you know, saying they're talking about the Denmark goal to make it 2-2. Yeah, it's before Tierney hits that strike, and that's it.
Chris, what concerned me slightly, well, quite a bit actually last night, was even down to 10 men. They mentioned it during commentary, even down to 10 men. Denmark were popping the ball about quite well, and they looked actually quite comfortable in possession, which was quite a worry when they had 10 men on the buck.
Yeah, it's hard when they've got all the possession. It's hard to notice that you've got the extra man, I think. But we maybe didn't make enough of it when we had possession because we seemed to struggle with knocking it about. Well, the only time we really were knocking about was like the back four. If you started taking it forward, but the longer it went on, the more we started to kind of get a bit forward because they started sitting further back until the Tierney goal anyway. But it was the whole of the game was just that kind of weird setup because they looked like they were settled in for a whole night of time wasting playing for the draw, but that completely went out the window when McTominay scored. We obviously seemed to sit in once Doc went off until the penalty. It's kind of hard to tell what happened after that because the sending off changed things again, and that kind of let us back in. We get to 2-1. They're coming at us again because they need a goal. So we're sitting in. It didn't last long. It's only once it's at 2-8 that you start to kind of even get close to being able to see the fact that we've got an extra man in the park and they don't. But I don't think we quite made enough of it. We didn't need to because like whether it's 10 men behind the ball or 11 men behind the ball, it doesn't really make that much of a difference in the park, and that's kind of where it got to at that time in the game.
It was, as you were saying, Chris, as well, Denmark were having the ball and having the possession. It was worrying, you know, when Isaksen and, you know, guys like Damsgaard having that room in the ball. And it's like, oh, and it's like as if that we had 10 men and Denmark had the 11 men. But yeah, it was a bit of a worry. So yeah, I agree on that.
Laurie, when that board goes up for 6 minutes of stoppage time initially, are you feeling like a lot of folk, because I could feel, even watching at home, I could sense the kind of nervousness in the crowd. Did you feel it just wasn't going to be our night and it was a playoff that was going to be dawning?
To be honest with you, Graeme, absolutely that's how I felt. I mean, I'm going to say something which I don't think is an uncommon view, but it's just very, you know, very typical of the night. 6 minutes went up, but, you know, I was thinking, and my uncle who stood behind me and a few others were thinking, it will be like 8 or 9 minutes that get indicated by the board. And then we were all raging when it was 6, bearing in mind at this point it was 2-2. But then by the time we get it to even 3-2, let alone 4-2, as we mentioned earlier on, we were all just begging for the whistle. And then the referee at the end of the day he played about 9 minutes, was it, Graeme? I mean, you were watching TV, so you saw the actual clock. Because I know at Hampden it doesn't count up I don't know if that's a UEFA directive. I know it was recently changed in SPFL. You may have noticed that in grounds where the stoppage time is counted on scoreboards. But like that, those 6 minutes or 9 minutes as they were honestly, well, maybe until Kenny McLean scored, the longest minutes of my life, it felt like.
I don't know if John B's hearing me or not. So, John, are you still there?
Like Steve Clarke's messed up my sound. And I mean the sound as in the headphone and that. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we
Right,
can.
good, okay. New laptop as well. What a night to get a new laptop. So, what were you asking? Just if I'm still here,
No, well, I was gonna ask you just what I've asked Laurie there. When that board goes up for 6 minutes, are you getting that feeling it's not going to be Scotland's night?
Oh no. Once that goes up, I'm like, right, we've got time. I felt 6 minutes was probably short because much as Steve and me were chatting there about tactics and that, he says don't listen to Charlie because he'll play 3-5-2. So no, I'm confident, but then the cramp and all that, like how many times did their players go down for cramp? And I know you were speaking about that. So there was that. Now you've got the subs. Now usually your subs are 30 seconds per sub. However, there was a few doubles, and it wasn't like they always went on at the same time. So Denmark were trying to waste time when they used their subs. It was like, okay, sub, but then the first one would swap, then the other one. 6 minutes I felt wasn't enough. But actually, it was fucking plenty, wasn't it? Because we scored 2 goals, and the second one was in the 98th minute because we must have celebrated Tierney's goal for what, 3 minutes? I mean, how long did it take for the game to start again after Tierney scores?
I
I
don't think
felt
it
like
took
it was
that
about.
long.
I don't think it
remember
was as long as.
No. My guess
Felt
is
like
he
that.
added on another couple of minutes because of all the cramp and all the extra stuff that was happening there.
Yeah.
I think it just felt like it because I'd travelled to the front of the stand and back and high-fived everyone.
I think Denmark celebrated their equaliser longer than we celebrated their 93rd minute goal.
They were
Bear in
away
mind,
the
though, at
before
this
they were going for
point,
chips after that scored that second goal.
bear in mind when Tierney scores, though, you just want to find a whistle. You don't want to, you just, or hopefully the referee forgets it was 6 minutes and thinks it was 4 and just goes, blow. And then obviously, if he had, we wouldn't even treated Kenny McLean's goal. So,
Daris?
it's still unbelievable. Like, still what? The game's by, as in, we're 24 hours by the game finishing last night. And it is sinking in. I mean, if we think about it right, I'm going to go emotional in terms of what this means for like maybe Krys and John, and we're all here, right? But we were lucky enough. Well, we always thought, shit, we're never going to get to a tournament doing this podcast. We thought this podcast was just about Celtic winning leagues. But then there was a season Celtic never won a league. So you're like, well, anything can now happen. So we've been lucky enough to like do 2 Euros as a podcast, see 2 Euros. Even like Daris as a youngster and Laurie as a youngster got to go to Euros last year. I did, John did. We've now got an opportunity if we want to remortgage our houses, go to America because it's going to be expensive. I mean, aye, we are in this privileged position that we're fans that have come together through football because we would never have known each other if it wasn't for football. We're now sitting here tonight and we're talking about the first time in a generation Scotland going to a World Cup. Like Scotland are going up, by the way, Scotland are going to a World Cup. That still hasn't quite sunk in. Like, hopefully, please tell me that we did not field any ineligible players during this campaign.
Don't even
Please
go
tell
there.
me. Everyone, we
I
didn't
think we're
cap
fine.
anyone new. Like, I think we're all right. I mean, this is the stuff that dreams are made of. Like, I've said so many times before, like when we got to Euros, it was disappointing, right? The first one, I mean, we've gone from qualifying for a Euros during Corona to go to Mexico, where Corona's from. So it kind of ties in nicely with Clarke's era, doesn't it? Tournaments. But yeah, we're going to a World Cup. But I mean, that we've never been able to say that in a podcast. I was lucky enough to be old enough to drink. I think John and Krys said they were just underage to drink legally. Pretty sure they had a drink. I was lucky enough in '98, and this is something that people have heard before, but it's worth talking about. I remember when I was for all 3 games. I was in the same pub for all 3. I remember the highs of that opening game and how we all excited we were. It was like we were what? Yeah, we'd left school 2 years. All my pals were still in the same place. So that way now you get older and your pals are everywhere else. I got to experience watching that, not going. I know for it went with my mates. And at that point, we went to tournaments. Like I grew up, Chris grew up, John grew up, Graeme, you grew up. We went to tournaments. See, when we never qualified for '94, that was weird. Like, we not there because we always go to tournaments. And then '98 happens, and my mate did go. He was in the Tottenham from an early age, and he was like, he's going to France. I didn't even like. I probably had the money, but you were too busy going to bevying. It's fine though. We'll get to the next one. It took a while. Then COVID happened. I didn't manage to get to any. I don't think I wanted to in terms of atmosphere. I got to go to Euros last year. I never ever thought as an adult I was going to see maybe Scotland qualify for a tournament again. Never mind go to a tournament and see Scotland at 2 games. And yeah, we never maybe got through. But I've always said about Steve Clarke, and Laurie knows this, we talk about this so much. It is fine margins, right? And see at this level, even some of the big teams, and I mean the elites, think back to the Euros last year. A lot of these big teams were pretty poor. It's not as if there's a lot of teams that play this so-called entertaining, expansive football. What is entertaining and expansive? Because for me, when we're watching Scotland this whole campaign, we're all frustrated when we play it side to side because it doesn't do anything. And every team now, no matter who they are, defensively does defend probably in a block, regardless of whether you're Scotland or you're Germany. You watch the teams are all coming back for corners, they're coming back. So as soon as you're doing that side to side, and it happened last night, Denmark can shape whether they've down to 10 men or not. But like, Clarke can frustrate us all. He's frustrated us all. Right, we're football fans, we're fickle.
Even me.
But he's got to 3 tournaments. I don't care how we play. We're doing stuff that we didn't do for 20 odd years.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, it means something. I might, folk will say, and have a laugh at me, I fell out with Scotland. I didn't fall out with Scotland. I fell out with UEFA and their stupid Tuesday night, Wednesday night, fucking TV at football. The only disappointment about last night was it was a Tuesday and not a Saturday, because a Saturday, I might be old, but I showed in Germany I can party for 3 days. I had work this morning, unfortunately. If it had been a Saturday, I had to try and contact my boss and say, see you on Monday, can I get a wee flexi day? Because I still feel like I've not celebrated it. And I got in last night. I was like, right. I spoke to John on the phone, so I got to see him in the game. And he's going to me, been some year for Hampden for us. We've seen Aberdeen win the Scottish Cup, which hasn't happened for a while. We've now seen Scotland qualify for the World Cup. Like, this is almost not fantasy because it's reality, but this generation of players, remember we fell in love with them. We all said before Euro 2024 we'd fallen in love with our football team again. But I don't think that has happened because we'd had so many near chances or just here we go again, Scotland. But Steve Clarke, and we've seen his interviews, and we're getting a bit more about what he's like behind the dressing room, because this is his swan song, right? He's going to win the World Cup and he's going to retire, right? Or whatever happens. This era is special. Like, and to be an adult and now appreciate it. I never appreciated it when I was younger because we were just doing it all the time. So does that sum up things all right, Graeme?
I'm not sure that, to be honest, I'm not sure many of these Scotland players get in that Stockport County team, to be fair, but I agree with you. But I want to come to John Bleasdale here, because the 93rd minute, Kieran Tierney puts it past his club teammate Kasper Schmeichel. I'd love to see what that's going to be like in that change room at Celtic Park. That's going to be funny as anything. But John, give me a sense of what it felt like in that crowd when that Kieran Tierney goal goes in.
A sense, well, I went from a different row, like 10 rows in front of me, I think. It was just adrenaline took over, and everyone was just in shock, because, I think we were almost thinking it's not going to be our night, because it was a bit of a huff and puff effort, and just how good the strike was, I think, makes the celebration as well. Yeah, we would have probably celebrated had it been a tapping like Shanklin's, but I think because of the style of the goal as well, it came almost out of nothing. It was just and the timing of the game as well, the 93rd minute. It was there's no better. I mean, there's no worse way of losing a game of football than in the last minute if you support that team. But there's also no better feeling than winning the game in the last minute as well.
Can I just add, by the way, I've been in many a football game with John, Aberdeen game, and John doesn't really do limbs. He
Yes, I do.
enjoys a moment. I know we do limbs, but I've never seen you go 10 rows. I've seen you do the row in front, maybe, or a couple. But that last night when Tierney's goal goes in. The whole crowd, I think, ended up in a different row from what they were, because we're like, fucking hell, this is not the Scottish way, even though, I mean, Krys said earlier about that's the best feeling. This is weird. I still don't think it's the best feeling, because it was relief. We've got to the World Cup. My best, I think, I don't think I'll top it, will be the Israel game, because we'd lost football. We had lost going to football. And that night, we were all back. I think most of us at the time that were on the podcast, we were all at the game. We weren't necessarily seeing each other, but we were all at the game. And that kind of was the start when you went, yeah, I love, that way you kind of, you love more what you'd lost.
Yeah.
But we've found it. And like, for example, going to work this morning, it's freezing. It was freezing going to work. And people were like, are you not cold? I said, oh, it's full of warmth and joy, because Scotland are the World Cup. Because everyone does know that that's what I do. Or there's a few of us in work that go. And you're like, yeah. And my mate from work, I met him at the game, after the game last night. He was in Athens as well. And he goes, oh, see, you're not work tomorrow? Because usually is. And he goes, no, I'm off till Monday. I was like, fuck off. Because he can celebrate till whenever. But we're going on Saturday, some of us, and I'll make up for it, Daris.
Oh, here we go. Well, then I think I'm just say as long as there's no be any ouzo consumed this time, so from last Saturday. So
Scotland tops on Saturday.
Oh yeah, got to be.
Laurie, if the goal from Kieran Tierney last night was orgasmic, what would you describe Kenny McLean's goal as?
Oh, I thought it was really difficult, because Kenny McLean's goal, and this isn't me using any adjectives or anything particularly descriptive, and I'm not going to make JB laugh any harder. But I'm actually going to be a little bit critical of the Scotland team here. I think it may have been Shea Adams, but someone can correct me. We should have actually tried to attempt a goal like that a little bit earlier in the game.
Adams never taken that shot. He'd have passed it.
That's your wait till Shea Adams scores the winning goal in the World Cup final, and you can eat that second bit of humble pie.
I would happily eat a bit of humble pie with that one, but I'm not so sure.
I'm saying Graeme, not you, Laurie, Graeme. Because it was Adams the hand, like you never wanted to see again in a Scotland jersey.
Oh,
I put him on my group chats when Shanklin scored that second goal. I said Adams puts that's white.
Oh, Shea Adams did score last time against Denmark at Hampden.
That was about 5 years ago. Come on.
4.
Oh, close. I mean, the celebrations, obviously, last night were just absolutely incredible. The interviews, you wouldn't have seen this, but last night the interviews were incredible with like Kenny McLean and John McGinn and Andy Robertson. I mean, the celebrations last night, Krys, again, you've been at Hampden probably more than I have, but what were those celebrations like last night after that full-time whistle?
Oh, it was bedlam. I think the difference between the third goal and the fourth goal, The third goal, there's still 3 minutes left, and we all know it, and we know we've already binned it twice. When that fourth goal goes in, there's no longer any doubt whatsoever. Before we even realise the game's finished, we're now 4-2 up. We are not losing this. We are going to the World Cup. The feeling between those two goals is very different. It was just sheer elation at that. I mean, I know John's talking about relief because we're now going to the World Cup for the first time in 28 years. But at that precise moment, it was elation because we've done it. This is what we aim to do, and we've actually done it. The relief kind of came a bit. So it came out a minute later, and when it suddenly got, it's like, we haven't done this in 28 years.
Graeme asked Laurie if Kieran Tierney's moment was orgasmic. When you talk about elation, was that a minute later was your orgasm last night? Like, no.
I had a few of them last night.
What?
I think most Scotland fans did, to be honest.
How many babies were made last night?
Tell you what, there'll be a lot.
Find it at 9 months.
A lot of people getting called Steve.
There'll be a lot of Kennys, or a lot of Kennys and a lot of Kierans.
It was the fact it's been 20 years. I mean, John was touching on it earlier. The summer of '98 was the summer that I left school, getting ready to go to uni. It was obviously with Celtic winning the league for the first time in 10 years. It was like my favourite summer. But that moment, and I've always clung to this memory of like watching the Morocco game with my mates, because that was pretty much the first time I was able to watch football with my friends. Being a Celtic fan, grew up and going to Rangers school, I didn't watch football with my pals. Scotland games was different, and this was a big tournament. I was just perfect age to be watching it with my pals, and it was one of these things of, I would love to be able to do this again next time. And we didn't qualify again until bloody COVID times. It's like I've almost kind of got to middle age now and not really watch football with my pals. So coming back to last night, one of my absolute highlights is then we have just done this. We've just won 4-2. We're going to the World Cup. The very next thing I'm going to do is run up those stairs and go and meet my pals. It's like that to me was one of the greatest moments of last night. Was I was able to go immediately and go, we have done it, and hug everybody and all sorts. It wasn't just, one thing hugging all the strangers every time we scored a goal. Hugging your mates is just, the football is just amazing.
I think I've said before, like the first time Mrs. B came to a game with me, she didn't quite know how people celebrate goals at a Scotland match. Now, I'm going for like the same as probably Jordan and Krys for about 30 years on and off, or you celebrate, you just, listen to this team, don't you? You just jump into it, and I did that, and Ange wasn't prepared for it, and it didn't end well for Ange. So I now know not to jump, give her a cuddle first. She is my first person. But then I just, whoever's there, you just go. But as Krys said, like before the game, like, oh, this is the tradition now. So I go in, I either go for a pee or a coffee or whatever. I go and see Laurie. And I hope it's all right for me to say, I used to go and see Laurie and he'd be with his dad at the football. And I'll go and see Laurie and his mum's at the football. Then Krys was there last night in the stand. And usually I'd have to talk to Krys through a barrier because he was at the other stand with his boy. But John would always find it difficult to see because he's either doing media duties or he's with his family. So it was sad not to see John last night, but I spoke to him to see Josh, who was the most sober I've ever seen. Josh had his top on. He had 3 tops on. He was not feeling well, but there was no way he was missing it. Then Daris, who we've just become like friends with. Like I've seen him twice now at games at half time. I mean, the Greece game we were all raging. I mean, we were all probably at that point getting your manager for the second half, and then look how that turned out. It turned out another weird night. So yes, like Krys said, we were all like seeing each other. Like, as I say, my brother-in-law came up last minute. That's how Krys got a ticket. I'd like to say words can't explain, but words can't explain because, I mean, I could talk about this all night. I'll talk about it forever. I'll talk about the Euros forever. If I go to fucking Mexico, and by the way, we could all wear these masks, Scotland fans cutting about in a saltire luchador mask. It is fucking the makings of a great time. Either that, or we're all going to dress up as Mounties in Canada.
Saltire sombreros. There you go.
Saltire sombreros and luchador masks.
There was a show in the early 90s called Thundercats, and that's what John looks like now. He looks like a Thundercat.
It's wrestling.
He looks like a Thundercat or a wrestler.
I mean, it's
Thundercats, go!
Remember, Lionel or Monkey and Cheetah. Cheetah, Denmark were fucking cheaters.
Laurie's got that look as if say, what's Thundercats? Let's just explain, Laurie. It was a great cartoon for the 80s.
YouTube. By the way, Graeme, you said...
I'll be YouTubing that. Cheers, John, or indeed both Johns.
You said about 10 minutes ago that you'll not have seen the interviews. Laurie and everyone has said about how everyone today in Scotland has been unproductive. I've not seen even a fraction of interviews, but I've seen a lot. James McFadden, who I love as a player, I love as a commentator because he's so passionate, right? He also was actually sporting about the same look as me, bald and beard. Him and Tomo. Now, Tomo gets criticised for hosting sports scene, but see Tomo and Faddy as a pair commentating the Scotland games or doing whatever they're doing. It's brilliant because these guys played in teams that at times were close. They love it as much as us because these guys are loving their teams as well. They're Scotland fans as well, Neil McCann. Like, yeah, as I say, I could talk all night. Are we asking the debate, is Steve Clarke the best Scotland manager?
Well, I'm
sure
going to... We will finish up shortly because it's been a long pod. I know that John Bleasdale's got something to talk about as well before we do go. But I want to go around everybody because, as it's been mentioned already, Steve Clarke has taken us to 2 Euros, a World Cup. Many managers have tried and failed before, and he's done it. He is our most successful Scotland manager. I'll come to you first, Krys. For you, having watched a lot of Scotland managers, Steve Clarke gets a lot of criticism. Sometimes it is justified because of some selections that he makes, but it cannot be denied what a fantastic job he's done for Scotland.
Yeah, you can't take it away from him now at all. The one criticism of not being able to make the World Cup is gone. He now has that opportunity once more to do something no Scotland manager's ever done before and get us out of the group. It's a 48-team World Cup. Third place teams have got a chance of getting through as well. That always helps. It's obviously not helped us in the past because we've not managed it in the Euros, we've not managed it like Italia 90 either. But it's a chance. So, and if you look at the list of teams that's qualified, it's still as tough as it ever is to get out of the UEFA qualifying. But some of the other confederations, there's brand new names in there, and you look at them going like, who are they? Where's that in the map? So how does he compare with his predecessors? I mean, obviously you've only got Andy Roxburgh and Craig Brown who have qualified for like both a World Cup and a Euros. Jock Stein almost managed to, but unfortunately passed away before the playoff, so doesn't technically get to have done to. But I mean, you can't take it away from one, and it's just a case of how you can compare the teams. And for me, Andy Roxburgh's Euro '92 will always be my favourite tournament for how we did when we got there. But again, that might be surpassed next year. I would love it to be. So you can't deny it's up there.
Laurie, where are you sitting on the Steve Clarke debate? Where's the statue getting put?
I mean, I've heard multiple conversations around statues. Definitely get a statue at Hampden at some point. Obviously, there has been like chat around, big to the past like knighthoods and what have you, but statue, get one outside Hampden. I don't know where's best, but we need to get a statue for him. We need to get something, even if it is something in the Football Museum Hall of Fame in the short term. He needs to be kind of commemorated for it. I mean, like a statue for sure, but is Sir Steve a wee bit too far?
I don't.
Right out. I'd love for him to get offered it and go,
And
nah.
go, nah,
Does
nah.
anyone ever refuse? That's
People
good
have
to
refused
refuse
it.
it.
I mean, I think I've actually thought about it. I was talking about it earlier. I actually wondered if Steve Clarke would refuse it because he is the sort of guy who, and he did this last night, and he's done it before. He does not like taking any credit whatsoever. As soon as any credit comes his way, he's like, "It's my players that deserve the credit." He would rather it was Kenny McLean say or Kenny Tierney getting the recognition as opposed to himself.
What he should have done last night was do what he did when he went to Kilmarnock and go, bye bye Denmark, bye bye Greece.
Yeah, I actually wish, comedy aside, I wish he did a speech on the park. I'll be honest, I actually thought something like that was going to happen last night because there was at one point, and maybe we can get some clarity on this if any Eastons are listening. There was one point where Graeme was on the pitch, where to me and to
Well,
my
wasn't even there.
your name, your namesake, or to you, the voice of Sandcastle. I don't know if he used the phrase "let's make some noise" or not, or if that's just what's his name, Scott Wilson, is it? But like he was there. I thought he was on the park, and I thought he was trying to get a player because I remember listening to another podcast, which I won't name, where that individual was a guest, where he admitted that he tried to get a player and Steve Clarke to say something on the mic when I think it was the Norway game after we qualified for Germany, and it didn't happen. So I assumed he was trying to get a player to maybe speak. And Steve Clarke, by the way, he maybe doesn't love publicly speaking in front of a crowd.
Can't hear you, Laurie.
And but what I was trying to say was the team talk was something kind of a bit special last night. Oh, the connection's going funny here. Apologies for any tech issues, troops.
That's all right.
Step in for Laurie quickly. I think what Laurie's trying to say is they were talking about how I think John McGinn and Steve Clarke and Steve Clarke had said that Ukraine playoff. Remember how low you felt that you did not go through, and to channel that and not finish the legacy, but finish the job that we should have finished. And the job's not finished, but that group was mostly there. There's a good core that were there at that point, and as we say again, they qualified for 2 tournaments, and this is them going to the World Cup. And I agree with Laurie. I don't understand why they didn't have like interviews after, because I mean some of us did stay. Maybe a Tuesday before we got home, but before we stayed, I think if they'd known that there was going to be interviews with the players and all that for the fans, because it was okay putting on the radio, but it takes a while to get back to the car or whatever, depending where you park. They could have done stuff and they could have had a sing song with the players. It could have been, but maybe the players just wanted a bevy, which is fair. They've earned it. Look, did you hear Lewis Ferguson? So Lewis Ferguson and
No,
Kenny
it
Andy
doesn't.
Robertson maybe get interviewed. And Fergie goes by him and goes, "Be better phone all the clubs and say we're not playing at the weekend."
I mean, Daris, in terms of Steve Clarke, as I said, a lot of folk don't rate Steve Clarke, but the simple fact is he gets results and he's qualified again, this time for our first World Cup. The guy just gets the job done.
Yeah, I would put the statue outside the main stand for sure. I think when he first came in 2019, after it was Alex McLeish, we had that low moments of Kazakhstan, losing 3-0, and then the San Marino, you only get a 2-0 win. But when he first came in, it's just when you see the players from then to when he first came in to now, we've got a great group of players that took us to we've had the moments of the Serbia, Davy Marshall Day, when we qualified for our first tournament, just any tournament, and then we've had the moments of the kind of we get to the Euros and we're all excited, and then it's just we get that 0-0 win at Wembley, And then the rest of the games were not particularly great. And then we'll go on to the kind of the road to Qatar moments. The Israel game, 3-2, McTominay winner. We had the kind of the Denmark games, guarantees a playoff. We've had some amazing moments with that kind of journey. Unfortunately, it ended with that Ukraine playoff heartbreak in 2022. But the whole dejection, and I was crying at that night as well. I'm just like, I'm never going to see Scotland at a World Cup. I'm like, I was 21 then, and I'm like, I genuinely feel that I'm never ever going to witness it. And it's like, you felt pure low. And then you had the Nations League games as well when we played Armenia, and the Ireland disappointment in Dublin, losing 3-0. And it was just like, you felt pure deflated. You felt just dejected. And then along came 2023, which turned out to be what a year that was. The Norway moments, the Kenny McLean and Dykes, then the Spain game at Hampden, McTominay, special nights. And then you've got the kind of the the end of that campaign as well to take us to Germany. And then along came 2024, the build up to the Euros as well. I was over in Amsterdam for the Netherlands game. Don't know how we'd lost 4-0, by the way, that night with Shankland, I think, hitting the bar and Gilmore having chances. And then you lose to Northern Ireland at Hampden. And it's like, again, you just hit a low point because Northern Ireland at that point are like they're starting to build a decent side now. But then it's like that was another low point. And then along came the Euros, buzzing, excitement, and then we get absolutely battered by Germany. They had a field day that Florian Wirtz and Musiala, and we just felt deflated after it. And then the Switzerland, McTominay, we had a lifeline. Then the Hungary game, it was just, that was another, head was down, deflated, leaving the stadium in Stuttgart, like, it's horrible. It's you know. And then 2025 to sum up for me with Scotland. So we'll go to the Greece playoff game. I thought that was it. I think we were at a point when Scotland had won one at Hampden in the past 14 games, I believe, at that point. But the Greece game at Hampden was another low point after, the kind of Nations League performances back at the back end of 2024. And then we had the kind of moments with the June friendlies against Iceland, losing 3-1, another terrible performance, and going over to Liechtenstein. I was luckily enough over in Liechtenstein, one of the most scenic away days I've ever done. It's a poor man's Ben Lomond, but still. That was a good trip. But we were all saying on the way down on the Wester coaches at that point with the kind of results, if we don't get a convincing win in Liechtenstein, it was 4-0, and we're still like, does Clarke go? We were talking about it as well, but then we talk about it, but then who do you bring in? That's the kind of issue. A lot of people were at that point were like, do you go down the international route? Do you go the foreign route? The international route or the Scottish route? We're talking about those guys like John McGlynn getting flung in as mixed manager, and Derek McInnes, and we're talking about it on the way down to Vaduz, and then along came the kind of qualifying campaign, solid point in Denmark, in Copenhagen, and the Belarus games, we made hard work of them, but we got the points, and then the Greece game at home, fantastic, and then the game in Athens as well. It's crazy how we could have ended up getting a draw or a win over there after being 3-0 down, and then the Denmark game, the final showdown at Hampden with that cauldron of a noise, going and sitting up, we were the 12th man, and honestly, when that full time, I think a lot of folk were bursting into tears, me included, but it was not me bursting into tears of dejection, it was me bursting into tears of joy, happiness. Absolutely, it's been a fantastic year for me with the Tartan Army, from the games at Liechtenstein away, that was that, the trip to Copenhagen, the home games against Greece, You know, it's been, I mean, the Denmark game, it's absolutely special.
I mean,
You like Steve Clarke? Is that what you're saying, Daris? Is that what did you say that Steve Clarke? You think he's the greatest? I don't know if you answered that.
Uh, yeah, I think I've said he needs a statue. He's got to be the greatest Scotland manager. He's got 2 Euros and a World Cup, and it's he's believed in a nation. He's believed in all of us again. He's made us more happy. He's made us absolutely fantastic. With the amount of smiles and the amount of people crying with happiness beside me at Hampden, and I was speaking to Josh Hendy there, and I was saying to him, like, I was just crying on his shoulder. I was like, mate, I genuinely lost for words. Like, and Steve Clarke is just he's made us believe again. He's made the whole country believe, and it's fantastic to see from a lot of people saying, Clarke should be going this and that, and it's like, well, who do you bring in? Who's available to bring in at that point in time? Because there was like guys like David Moyes at the time, and then yeah, I mean, believe that's it. He's got us to 3 major tournaments in the space of what 2021, 4 years because the Euro 2020 was moved to 2021, but in the space of 4 years, he's got us to 3 major tournaments, 2 Euros, and a FIFA World Cup, the global stage, and we're there. Fantastic, absolutely amazing.
Daris, see if that's your lost for words. What happens when you've got something to say?
Oh,
I love it. I love it.
oh, honestly, I still feel I'm going to end up being emotional again. To honest, it's just been absolutely it's fantastic.
I mean, to be,
Just talk quickly on my thoughts on Steve Clarke
I was going to
before,
go.
because I feel John's the right person to go last on this one. Because
Yeah.
so Craig Brown, the late Craig Brown, who's obviously a good friend of John, and he's been involved with the podcast. Obviously, at that point, there was less teams that qualified, right? But what I would say is the reason why I would give it Clarke. Craig Brown inherited a team that was already successful. Steve Clarke inherited a team that was not successful in any way. Like, we used to dread coming on podcasts and talking about Scotland games because we were like, here we go again. It was like therapy sessions. That's what we used to always call it. Now it's like the happiness sessions. It's like positivity. Like, we're going to win games. We're going to beat Spain. We're going to beat Denmark. We're going to beat England. We're going to beat everybody. I mean, I'm always going to get side. I'm always going to, every time, whoever it is, that support, I believe they can beat anyone. But you've got to believe. Steve Clarke makes us believe. Players don't pull out of squads under Steve Clarke. I don't remember any Scotland manager we've had in the last however many years since I supported him. There's not had at least some that are like, no, I don't want to play. I know there was a Ryan Fraser one, right? That, I don't know if that's Clarke stubborn or just it was like, you don't know what goes behind the scenes, right? Because Ryan Fraser could be an asset still, but I think
Given
Clarke's very
Ryan
much opinion
Fraser's
where,
attitude at club football, I think it's
no,
probably the player, not the manager.
Yeah.
Yep.
I know I'm not saying that is the
100%.
manager, but I think that we spoke about some other players in the past. And it's not that Steve Clarke's stubborn, but he trusts the guys he's got. He trusts the guys that turn up every time. There's players that will turn up and they probably know they're not going to go on the pitch in the 2 games. But see, international competitive matches, you're not there to give everyone a game. You're there to create a unit, create something that is going to lead to, as he said, aspire to success. Now, we have never as a nation had the mentality of belief that we can do things in terms of our modern times. 1978, obviously, Ali McLeod said we're going to win the World Cup. Look what happened. There's better teams. Scotland probably have better teams or individuals than what we have now. But what we have now is a squad that was it Krys or someone said they'll do anything for each other. They all love each other. Like you can see that they just. There's no football. I think in the past you've had like Rangers, Celtic, you've had player rivalries, and that's this squad all gets on. I don't believe anyone in that dressing room does not like each other. They know themselves, because that generation hasn't. Most of them will have probably not seen Scotland at a World Cup apart from Craig Gordon. Like, or if they have, they would have been very young. So the players as well last night knew, some of them, this is our last chance to get to the World Cup. That after the World Cup, probably we're going to see some players either retire or be not discarded, but just right, we'll bring in the next batch. And he does every time. This is something I bring up all the time. You've got people saying he doesn't pick young players, he doesn't, but he does it constantly. But you don't, it's like a club. He says it's a club. See, a good club, you don't sign 6 or 7 new players every summer. You add 2 or 3 and you ease them in. Because there's plenty of players in that squad that it took a while for them to get going. John McGinn wasn't a Scotland superstar at first. McTominay wasn't a superstar. Lewis Ferguson, taking him a while to get going. It takes time at international level. And even when we got to the first tournament, okay, we were excited because we had games at Hampden, but they weren't tournament ready because we were playing C Nations teams. We were then playing B. We've now played more A teams. The more you play against the better teams, the better you get. But we now have a group of players who, whether they're playing for Hibs or whether they're playing for Napoli, it doesn't feel like they play for such a kind of gap in teams, because when they're together in Scotland, they're Scotland. I think international football's back for Scotland also as well, because folk are getting fed up. I shouldn't say this, with the Premiership, because it is pretty boring. It's pretty much Celtic in the league, probably.
Oh, for me, it's not this.
Well, but generally though, isn't it? Like, you're kind of like, you know, probably you're not going to be winning the league. So you might pick up a trophy, a cup. That doesn't happen often. But with Scotland, if we look at it as in seasons like Daris just did, fucking impressive. Like, yeah. And these players are now, they are legends. Like, we're all going to remember, like, folk off the ball last night, and they were saying, oh, everyone remember where they were when Scotland qualified for World Cup. And thankfully, there's a few of us here can go, yeah, I remember, I was there.
It's like 11 best mates on a pitch now. See, everybody that starts, it's like 11 best mates. Do you know what I mean? Like, from say what we had before to now, it's like everybody's all just got that. You know, Clark's just got these players, and just it's as if it's like 11 best pals on a pitch, and they're all there for each other. They all care for each other, and that's why Clark have got a really lot of respect for him. Honestly, he's inherited from what we had in 2019 when he first came in to what he's got now. It has been absolutely phenomenal.
Well, the final word on Steve Clarke has to go to Mr. John Bleasdale.
Well, just after the last Euros, just before the next Nations League campaign, I wrote a blog on SFF. I wasn't quite calling for his head at that point, but I did question, had he taken this as far as he can? Because the performances in the Euros was not good, and the stats back it up. You know, this isn't just a fan rant. We were lowest for like number of shots. You know, we were ranked the worst team in the tournament. Everything, you know, the stats did back up, and Clarke was quite resistant, was changing in terms of his formation, etc. at this point. And the worry was he going to be able to evolve the team to what it needed? And you can pass me that slice of humble pie, because, you know, he's got us to the World Cup, and he made the changes in the formation. And when people were saying after the Greece game back in March, you know, is it time for Clarke to go? I was like, well, he's going to be there to the end of this tournament anyway, and I think he's earned that right. To be fair, I mean, Steve Clarke has earned the right to be there to the end of his contract, and I'm glad he's getting the World Cup. But we were talking a podcast back in March, and I said, because we were obviously drawn to play Greece in the World Cup. Now, of course, going down to Nations League B was disappointing at the time, but in some way it's worked out, because what would you take? Staying in Nations League 8 or going to World Cup? I know what I'm taking every time. In terms of the comparisons to other managers, I think that question will be fully answered if we get through to the next round of knockout stage. That is where there is no debate. Because right now, for me, you look at the different years. Andy Roxburgh qualified us for 18 Euros when only 33 UEFA nations were in it. Craig Brown qualified us for a 32-team World Cup. And so you can argue that Steve Clarke's had, well, certainly for the Euros, it's, there's greater expectation because of the amount of teams involved. But for him to get to World Cup where, I say, only 16 out of 54 UEFA nations can qualify, that can't be taken away from him. So I think there's a good debate to be had there. But certainly if we qualify for the next round of a major tournament, which no Scotland manager collectively has done, there is no winner. And Craig, God rest him, you know my relationship with what Craig was like. We became good friends over the last few years. He was supportive of the book launches and just an absolute top guy. Fellow Ayrshirman, nobody will be smiling prouder than Craig Brown to Steve Clarke right now. One Ayrshire man to another. And if anyone was going to be the next one to take Scotland to a World Cup, it's probably worked out well. It's been Steve Clarke, and good luck to him. And thank you.
The one thing I would say about the actual final tournaments is we don't have a great record of even winning games currently, because rightfully so. The last time we won a game at a major tournament was under Craig Brown against Switzerland. The last time we won a game at a World Cup finals was under Andy Roxburgh in Sweden in 1990. So if we are to qualify for the knockout stages of the finals, it's highly likely we're going to have won at least a game. It's not impossible to do it with 3 draws, but if we can do that, then that will be a great big stepping block towards that knockout round.
What team was that again that pretty much drew their way to the final?
Italy, I think.
We could. What's
Portugal.
Portugal.
Yeah.
Portugal.
Maybe we could just
in the Euros.
Maybe we could just do that, just draw our way to the final, and then we're pretty good in penalty shootouts.
Well, remember,
Argentina and Italian 90 was another one.
Greece won it in 2004, and they were absolutely horrific. But they played the worst football ever.
Well, they say they were horrific, but the guy was a genius. He was maybe one of the early international managers that went right, just concede possession, and we might get 1 or 2 chances, and momentum took them, because you were like, it's going to stop, and you were like, Portugal got revenge. Because remember, Portugal played Greece in the groups, I think.
Very first game.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it get bookended by the final. I think, well, Portugal are going to get revenge. If Greece can win it, I know it wasn't a World Cup, but there's teams that have won things that I don't get carried away. But if you've got to get carried away, you've got to believe. Who knows?
What I would say to that, John, is Graeme will just finish off this point. With the players in the squad just now, a few of them have got to be battering on their club managers, so to say, either play me or get me out. Like Angus Gunn's a prime example. He's not played a club game yet for Nottingham Forest, and I think he has had false promises. He's got to say to Sean Dyche, I need to go, let me go to a championship team or go to Scottish Premiership, join a team, because I think Celtic needs another goalkeeper personally, but that's another issue. But he should be knocking down that door to get out, because, I mean, people forget, it's almost quite to forget because of the 3 goals that we scored last night, the 3 worldies that we scored last night. Angus Gunn's save against from Corexis at 2-1 was top drawer, was vital, and we need him playing football. Same with Craig Gordon at Hearts. If he's not going to get in the Hearts team, because the Hearts keeper's come in and done fantastically well, even if he goes to, say, like a Dundee or a Motherwell, for example, as long as he's getting games for the next few months, and Nathan Patterson at Everton, he's not getting games anytime soon. He could, with games, he could probably get in that squad just now, ahead Anthony Ralston, who's not getting games at Celtic. So these players, if they want to get in that squad, they need to be chapping the door and getting first team football if they're not getting at their current clubs. This is a great opportunity because 28 years we've waited for this World Cup. It might not come in again for a while.
The flip side of
Well,
that, I would really like to see people not getting injured because that screwed us in Euro 24.
Yeah, true.
I
It's a
just
good
wrap
point,
them
you-
all up in
Oh.
cotton wool. Just, they're not allowed to play again until they can play bounce games between each other. Just keep them fresh. Just go to a training camp now till
Aye.
Yeah.
June.
Yeah,
Right?
look,
Every Scotland player, training camp and wherever, they're not SFA need to like come up and go, right, we're going to win this tournament. We need to prepare well. How should we prepare? They don't play for our clubs again. They just go training camp like Rocky and Rocky 4. And then I know we can't beat Russia in the final, but yeah, just get them in a wee training camp in the snow. That will not prepare them. But America's got a lot of different climate. Canada, just it's a sensible thing. This is probably the most sensible thing I've ever said in the podcast. Get sort of SFA, put them all out, their teams, one in World Cup.
Well,
it would be just our luck, wouldn't it? That we finally make it to the World Cup finals and Mount Vesuvius erupts and takes out a couple of our players.
It's we had been pot for these well in the draw on December the 5th as well. So I mean, Curacao, what pot for? So what would be Scott? Would we be we'll beat Brazil for pot 1 and then we'll lose to Curacao? is that all? We'll see. It's a good point as well that you made, please, there as well about Gunn against Caretsas as well. But he for me gets a lot of credit. Angus Gunn. He has made some very, very important saves, and that if he doesn't save that moment, it could be completely different. It's a great point that you made about the Caretsas with Gunn making them saves, but. Pot 3 for the World Cup. I mean, I've looked at some of the teams from the pot 4, and it's like, I mean, Curacao is.
Save it for later on when we're the draw, because there'll be a podcast for that.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
can I just say, it's unbelievable that we have qualified for this World Cup when we get pumped 3-1 at home to Greece. We won the game 3-1. We got pumped 2-1 against Belarus. That was at home. We won. We got pumped last night 4-2 and we won. We've been grim. I'll take grim every day of the week.
I take them and go through and play well and no go through. So.
Let's face it, the most
Absolutely.
Scotland thing to do is usually a screw up against a team that's bottom, like Belarus, and then go into the final game and blow it. Denmark did their script.
Well, I cannot wait until Lawrence Shanklin scores 40 goals towards the end of the season and Che Adams still starts the opening fucking game at the World Cup. But anyway, I just want to say...
Steve Shanklin scores 40 goals. I'll take it. I don't know, like fantasy football. You're like, aye, John, you didn't wrap up. Might not happen again in podcast history for us. So we're continuing. If you need to go, you need to go. If Lawrence Shanklin scores 40 goals, that's going to be like fantasy football to the end of the season. I am going to want every Scotland player to do well for their club, because if they do well for their club, there's more competition and it's better for the national team. Apart from when they play Aberdeen, they can have a rotten game then. So every player can score 40 goals.
So you want Shanklin to score 40 goals after this weekend, right? Okay.
Aye.
My God, that's high expectations, eh?
He scored what? He scored 30 in his first season?
Well,
all competitions.
For
Hearts?
For Hearts, he scored 28 in his 31 in his second season.
So...
Can we not just find Claudio Braga a Scottish granny? They've got a song as well.
And a brilliant song at that. A brilliant song as well.
He's not Scottish, he's Portuguese.
No,
he's got a Scottish granny.
Right. I just want to say thank you very much for letting me host tonight. It's been as much fun as I hoped it would be. I think this was a great idea to do a podcast tonight. And I'm just delighted that we actually have qualified for the World Cup. Thank you to JB, to John Bleasdale, to Laurie, to Daris, and to Krys. It has been much, much appreciated. If you're going to listen to this, please enjoy it, because this has been a fantastic podcast. I have been Graeme D, your major host tonight. Happy football, and Scotland are going to the World Cup. Get it now!
Scotland!
Yeah.
Because we're the Southern Army! Oh,
Yes.
oh, come on! Oh,
Tierney McLean from the halfway line. Tierney McLean from the halfway line.
shoot!